The program SNAP, formerly known as food stamps, is one of the nation's largest welfare systems, helping to feed more than 40 million low-income Americans. But for people in need, what that assistance looks like and who can access it varies greatly. Laura Barone-Lopez and producer Maya Lene Bura have this report, the final part in our series, America's Safety Net.
For single mother Betsy Cruz, every trip to the grocery store is a tightrope walk.
I always have to calculate down to the penny, because when I get to that register, I don't need any surprises, because if it comes over then the amount that I have to ask them to put it back.
That amount is usually $56 a month, the total benefit she and her 21-year-old son Colton receive from SNAP, the Federal Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program.
Is it enough to support and cover your food costs?
No, it's not. You go to the grocery store and you come out with maybe 3 or 4 bags, and that's it. That's it for the month.
Hi, how are you?
To bridge the gap, Cruz gets help from food banks like this one, near her home in Gilbert, South Carolina. She says she's grateful, but she can't rely on this help for healthy food.
Most of the stuff that you get at the food banks are like very high carbonated or starchy items, and my son's a diabetic, but we have to use it, We have no choice.
This struggle is new for Cruz. She worked a steady job as a government meat inspector for nearly 3 decades. But she was forced to retire early and take a reduced pension after her son's struggles with a developmental and behavioral disability worsened.
It's not that I don't want to work, it's I can't.
Yeah, you have no choice right now.
I have no choice. I'm a mother first, and it's been 21 years of it. He has to come first.
The Cruz family is not unique. About 90% of SNAP recipients live in households with older adults, children, or someone with a disability. To qualify for SNAP, a family of 2 in South Carolina must make less than $25,700 a year. In 2022, about 600,000 people, 12% of the state's population, were on SNAP. That reflects the national picture.
We must distribute more food to the needy.
Food stamps started in 1964 as a key part of President Lyndon B. Johnson's War on Poverty, aimed at feeding low-income Americans. As the program expanded, rising sharply after economic downturns like the Great Recession and later the COVID-19 pandemic, it's become a target for conservative lawmakers who argue the country can't afford a welfare program that costs more than $100 billion annually.
The bill is passed.
In last year's debt ceiling agreement, Republicans in Washington negotiated a raise in the age limit for SNAP's work requirement from 49 to 54. And states, too, have experimented with more stringent SNAP requirements. For nearly a decade here in Kansas, Republican legislators have passed laws restricting who qualifies for food assistance, from implementing higher work requirements to forcing people to apply for child support. Kansas is one of 5 states that make single parents seek child support in order to receive SNAP benefits.
I think it's an absolutely good policy. Comments on the minutes?
Republican Representative Francis Awerkamp is the chair of the Kansas House Committee on Welfare Reform.
It's an opportunity to find that other parent and make sure they're doing their duty so that that child and the custodial parent, typically the mother, has the resources they need to kind of have it run a stable life.
It seemed like a very drastic move just to feed my family.
In 2017, 6 months into a pregnancy, Cecilia Douglas's partner unexpectedly abandoned her and her 2 daughters. The Kansan had just taken a pay cut to focus on her pregnancy, and she says her ex left her with crippling debt.
When I found myself single, there were a lot of financial responsibilities that were left on my shoulders, and it was very difficult to recover from that financially.
After giving birth, she decided to apply for SNAP and quickly realized that to enroll, she would be required to apply for child support.
It was immediately a moment of pause, because I knew that my intention was not to rely on this assistance longer than I absolutely needed.
You tell me when to let go.
For Douglas, that meant opening a case against her newborn son's absent father and working with the Department for Children and Families to establish a child support order in court. A daunting prospect.
I felt that if I applied, it would create an unhealthy environment for my son, but also my older daughters.
Weighing her options, Douglas chose to go without.
It's heartbreaking when your child comes to you and says, "Mom, I'm hungry," and the only thing you have to feed them is a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Chairman Awerkamp notes parents can apply for exemptions from the rule if pursuing child support could create a dangerous situation for them or their children.
If there is good cause for an exemption, the exemptions are granted.
But an exemption requires official evidence, like a police report or witness statement.
This doesn't affect the non-custodial parent. This is affecting the mom and the kids. Who do you have packing it?
Karen Siebert is a policy advisor for Harvesters, one of Kansas's largest food bank networks. She supports efforts to repeal the requirement.
The Child Support Services has many levers by which to get child support. They can garnish wages. They can do all sorts of things. Bringing food assistance in as a weapon is what we really have a problem with.
Siebert says she sees the effect of these kinds of requirements up close at the food pantries her organization serves.
The effect of all of these restrictions is that people are no longer on these programs or can't access these programs, and so they're turning to the charitable sector.
When asked about some criticism of the state's restrictions on food assistance, Chairman Awerkamp said the policies are about creating, quote, a life of self-sustainability.
I think it's so important to understand the spirit of these programs. What are they for? It's not to keep people on food welfare. It's actually to help them move off.
Kansas ranks third from the bottom in access to SNAP, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And experts say 3 in 10 Kansans who would otherwise be eligible for the benefit do not receive it, largely because of state policies. Despite that, Kansas's food stamp reforms, particularly its time limits for the benefit, have been held up as a model by right-wing groups. And nearly a dozen states have made changes based on the ones in Kansas.
They tend to go to state legislatures where they might have a receptive audience.
Ed Bolin is the director of SNAP state strategies at the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, a progressive think tank.
We've seen troubling indications that folks are losing benefits without any positive outcomes.
With this year's election, SNAP may soon be on the line. Former President Donald Trump proposed major cuts to food assistance while in office and has nodded again towards welfare restrictions on the campaign trail.
So first of all, there is a lot you can do in terms of entitlements, in terms of cutting, and in terms of also the theft and the bad management of entitlements.
Bolin worries that further restrictions to SNAP would hurt America's poorest.
The independent and sort of academic research has increasingly shown that those time limits don't work, that the only real outcome is less SNAP participation, and hopefully we can get past the idea of threatening to take away food assistance from these folks in order to get them into work.
Back in South Carolina with the nation's patchwork of food assistance programs, Betsy Cruz is glad her family can access the benefit. But it's still a struggle to put food on the table.
Yesterday, I spent 2 cents over. I was digging through my purse trying to find 2 pennies just to pay the rest of my SNAP.
What does that feel like?
It's indescribable.
I just feel like trash. That I'm here for a free handout, and I'm just nothing to this country.
For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Laura Barone Lopez in Gilbert, South Carolina.
You can find more of our coverage of America's safety net online. That's at pbs.org/newshour.